So me and Larry over here in the food forest and messing around. I mean, it's not much of a forest yet. All the plants and everything's small. But we're going to plant a little bit of stuff, or at least one tree today. It's an all-in-one almond I got from a nursery here in Georgia. Generally people don't grow almonds in Georgia, and so figure we give it a try and see what happens. So normally I'm super methodical with my planting, and I sometimes even get a tape measure out and make sure everything's right and spaced appropriately. But sometimes when I do that, I wind up just letting the plants die because I wait too long to plant them. The almond, I got a persimmon right there. There's my hugelkultur bed, which is pretty junked up right now. There's a pawpaw tree there. So if the almond grew big right here, my idea is that the roots will grow down along the angle of the swell because they grow kind of shallow. Or, you know, most trees grow within the top few foot or so of the soil. And so they'll grow down kind of nicely that way. And really, it should be further from my persimmon, but I think they'll be just all right. So I'm gonna plant it right in here. It's nice and green where lots of weeds are growing, so maybe it's a good spot. So this stuff right here used to be hard as stew. So when I jumped on the shovel, I did not expect to be able to go in that easy, which we've worked this in the past. But watch, oh, look at that. That's what I call penetration. So a lot of people suggest not adding fertilizer when you first plant. I can't resist adding just a tiny bit. And then also I got some oyster shells, just regular for the chickens. I like to toss that in there. We've lined this area before. That stick's sticking me right in the butt. We've lined this area before, but it doesn't hurt to add a little bit of calcium. And it's super slow release, so I'm gonna mix that in a little bit, and then we'll see if we fit. Maybe I added a tiny bit too much water, but I like to try to soak it in as we put it in to get all the air bubbles out. You can also just put it all in and just fill it up with water really good. But now we got to be patient. Finish putting that dirt in, and then I've got what I was keeping it in was a compost or unfinished compost, and I'm gonna use that to top dress it as mulch. So top dress with some unfinished compost. Most of it's finished, but then Nikki's been adding some baby chicken bedding. But here's the awesome part: complete with worms. And I know it's like worms, whatever. When we first bought this place, you couldn't find a worm one. You know, usually most places you can at least flip up some stones and find a worm, and we couldn't find a single worm. And this year we've been seeing them, which is pretty darn nice. Going to see what else we got to plant. Probably got a peach or something. Go ahead and get some stuff in the ground while I feel like it. Peach or persimmon? I want to plant the persimmon because this I got a nut. Because I want to plant the persimmon, but I've got another one kind of close to where I want to plant it. So I think I'm gonna plant the peach because this will be pretty far away from other peaches. So this hole's a little bit harder to dig, but it's a little bit closer to a walking path too. So, but the neat part is, I started digging the hole, and I was like, Larry, we don't need to hit that. I think that might be little baby hibiscus. We had a hibiscus plant growing over there on the hugelkultur bed that got quite big, and the wind blew it over. That's what some of these little sticks are from. And so, hypothetically, the seed could have fell, and hypothetically, could be a baby hibiscus. So that'd be really neat. And this is all ground cover. This was all bare red clay for a long time. Not for a long time, for a season or two. So this is where the channel name come from. This hard, unforgiving red goodness. Never grew up around red clay, so I didn't know how to work with it. And I'm still learning. But, just in case you're wondering. So surprisingly, this one, I expected to see it was a lot more pot bound, but it's not really bad at all. Another thing to check for is just make sure nothing's growing above your graft. Definitely don't, you want to plant right at soil line, but definitely never plant above your graft, or at least on these. Avocados are slightly different. But repeat the processes before, just like before. That's good English, ain't it, Larry?
Yep.
So we might plant this one, might plant one more, but we might just call it a day after this. So these cool cats are moving the mulch around. Which seems to be breaking down fairly nicely. Still building some more raised beds. Getting ready to fill those up with some of this mulch. Or some of this compost. And some of these kids are not doing a whole lot. Like that one. So Tony's shaking up our compost mix here. And we had a little bit of potting soil left, but not much, and a little bit of peat moss. So we're trying to make some seed starting mix. This guy's gonna be shaking next, ain't that right? And they're turning in the compost while we're doing it too. So these guys right here are working on getting this bed prepped and ready. These guys over here shaking out, making us some more seed starting mix. And these guys over here turning compost. Very productive day. Second bite!
Second bite, Rick and Bobby!
Our Baker Creek plants came in, apparently when I was out Monday. They've been sitting here. I already said that. But so now we're mad thrashing to try to get them planted with my smallest class. And all we've got is these big pots, so we're just going to group them together with whatever packaging they came in.